the Left Coast Forum, where your voice matters and your ideas take action. Saturday, October 25th at LA Trade Tech. Brought to you by KBLA Talk 1580 and the LA Progressive. The future won't wait, and neither should you. Mark your calendar now to be there and be heard. Stay tuned to KBLA Talk 1580 for more details.
Try to keep it coming. Things ain't always smooth, but I'll be alright as long as I can find the groove. Yes, I will. Yeah. Somehow I know that I can make it. You seem to like my style. Don't you worry, I'm gonna be around a while. Yes, I will. I'm just happy to see you talk to me back and start again.
Live from historic Leimert Park in Los Angeles, California, I'm Tavis Smiley, and I'm so glad to see you and me back in stride again. Before we get started with today's show, let me invite you to follow me on Facebook and Instagram at The Real Tavis Smiley, and get updates on X, that's formerly Twitter, at Tavis Smiley. By the way, should you miss any part of today's program or want to catch up on previous shows, you can always visit thetavissmileyshow.com. That's thetavissmileyshow.com, or wherever you get your podcast, and listen to the Tavis Smiley podcast version of this live program at your leisure. Another great show on tap for you today. In our second hour, two conversations. It's Thursday, so up first, Smiley and West. It was trending earlier this week, so you might have seen footage of Dr. West's righteous indignation, I'd call it righteous indignation, walking off the set of Piers Morgan Uncensored. It was all over social media. So if you missed it, we'll play some audio for you, but more importantly, hear Dr. West in his own words about what got to him such that he walked off the set of a live show, namely Piers Morgan Uncensored. That's Dr. West on the top side of hour two. On the B side of hour two, how's that for a lyric right about now? I fight authority. I fight authority. In 2010, my Indiana Hoosier homeboy, John Mellencamp, asked me to host the live telecast of Farm Age's 25th anniversary concert in Milwaukee. It was an amazing lineup that day that included, of course, Mellencamp, Willie Nelson, Neil Young, Dave Matthews, Noah Jones, and many more. That was in 2010. This weekend in Minneapolis, they will celebrate the 40th anniversary of Farm Age, and I look forward to talking about it with my Indiana Hoosier homeboy, John Mellencamp, in our next hour, following our dialogue with Dr. West. In our third hour today, conversation with sonic architect, trumpeter, multi-instrumentalist, composer, producer, and designer, in fact, of musical instruments and other innovative technologies, Chief Adjua, the artist formerly known as Christian Scott. He has a couple of big shows coming up at the Blue Note. No, not that Blue Note in New York City, the new Blue Note, the Blue Note LA. So lots to talk about with the former Christian Scott, Chief Adjua, in hour 3. But in this first hour, 2 more conversations on the B side of this hour. U.S. Representative LaMonica McIver updates us on the trumped-up charges against her for a protest earlier this year in Newark and how progressive Democrats can best defend themselves from the attacks on the left from the GOP. LaMonica McIver with an update on these charges against her on the backside of this hour. All that said, we commence today's show in conversation with the Right Reverend Dr. Bishop William J. Barber, the second president and senior lecturer of Repairers of the Breach and Tomorrow Mondays, also professor and founding director of the Center for Public Theology and Public Policy at Yale Divinity School. Bishop, good to have you back on. How are you, sir?
Always good, homeboy. Always good to be on, and thank you, man, for the shows that are coming up.
No, thank you. Speaking of homeboy, he's my homeboy as well. So Mellencamp's from Indiana,
That's
Bishop
right.
Barber is from Indiana, I'm from Indiana. It's a Hoosier Day around here, and I didn't even plan it that way, but I'm celebrating all things Indiana to my family and friends listening back in the Hoosier State. So, Bishop, I know you're coming to town to Los Angeles this weekend. You've been traveling the country, crisscrossing the country. I've said many times, I'll say it again. To my mind, he may be the greatest moral leader of our times right now, particularly as it relates to the mantle that Dr. King had to lay down addressing the issue of poverty in this country. And so you're coming to LA. Let me just talk about that for the first 2 minutes. And when we come forward, we'll get into some more issues. But tell me about this trip to LA this week.
We'll be leaving, being there tomorrow, and tomorrow night we'll be having a mass prayer meeting. And on Saturday in MacArthur Park, I'm working with a group called SAM, Save America Movement. I've joined it, and Repairers of Breaches joining with them, and we're joining local groups. We've been invited to come to launch what is called Liberty Bands. And these Liberty Bands are bands that will have in them a veteran, a top-notch film crew, immigrants' rights activists, and clergy. And they will literally move around and film what ICE is doing and making sure that is really getting out. The goal of this is to make sure that people see what's going on, because oftentimes we get pieces, but these Liberty Vans will be committed to filming what is going on, showing it to the people, because we believe that the consciousness of the nation will shift more and more the more people can see exactly what's going on. So we've been invited to come out. We'll be in MacArthur Park with people who are working on the ground to add to the kind of resistance these Liberty Vans that we will be putting in the area.
If you're in the LA area tomorrow night, I'll tell you more again about where Bishop Barber will be tomorrow night, Friday, here in Los Angeles. I expect to be with him tomorrow night when he arrives here in Los Angeles. And to his point about these ICE raids that are continuing, you saw that federal decision a few weeks ago that suggested that Donald Trump could continue these unchecked and random surprise ICE interrogations. So they continue in this city. It really hit home for me just the other day. I've been in LA for most of my life, and for many years now, 25, maybe more. I've been getting my car washed every week. Well, maybe not every week. My car wishes it were every week, but I attempt to wash my car every week, usually on Saturdays after I leave the gym, at the same car wash for literally 25 years. And I looked up the other day, and there was a trending video of them, ICE, raiding my car wash. And the people that I've known for years who literally wash my car every Saturday were being rounded up at my car wash. And that thing hit me in a way that I can't even describe. I've known these folks for years, and here they are literally being rounded up, and they're crying, and they're being handcuffed by ICE. It was just hard to watch. So these things make a difference when they really, really hit you in the heart. I digress on that for now. More of our conversation with Bishop William J. Barber II when we come forward on Tavis Smiley.
Hope, agency, dignity. This is Tavis Smiley. Can you dig it?
You hear that? That's Mike sleeping soundly on a Sunday night. That's because Mike was smart this time. He took ZQL Ultra to fall asleep fast, stay asleep longer, and get the deeply restorative sleep he needs. So now he wakes up refreshed and ready to conquer Mondays.
Let's do this, Monday.
ZQL Ultra. Not for colds, just for sleep. Really great sleep. Use as directed. Keep out of reach of children.
This is Joe Cordell of Cordell & Cordell. Serving in the military requires great sacrifices, not just for one's country, but also for one's family. Not surprisingly, divorce for soldiers is especially difficult, and it raises a number of challenges that are peculiar to military divorce, things such as deployments, relocation, retirement benefits. These issues can be complicated. So if you're a soldier facing such challenges, go to CordellCordell.com.
1455 Frazee, San Diego. CordellCordell.com.
Make a move into a home of your own. With City National Bank's Ladder Up Home Loan Grant, you could receive up to $20,000 that you never need to pay back. Use it toward your down payment, save on closing costs, or to buy down your mortgage rate. Find out more at cnb.com/ladderuphome. City National, here for every stage of the journey. Property must be in a qualifying market in California, New York, or New Jersey. Additional terms and conditions apply. Not all applicants will qualify. Terms are subject to change without notice. City National Bank is an equal housing lender. Member FDIC. NMLS number 536994.
Are you wet shaving? You'll get razor bumps.
Nah, Pops, I'm good with Gillette Skin Guard. How long you been growing that beard Mama hates anyway?
Since 77, I shaved and got ingrown so bad.
That's why I use the Gillette Skin Guard razor, face scrub, shave gel, and moisturizer, so I don't have to worry about new razor bumps or shaving irritation.
Gillette Skin Guard, huh? Your mama's gonna love this one.
The best a man can get keeps getting better with Gillette Skin Guard. Buy now at a retailer near you.
Constipation with belly pain that keeps coming back and back and back. If your symptoms keep coming back, talk to your doctor. It could be irritable bowel syndrome with constipation or IBS-C. Linzess could help you get ahead of it. Linzess linaclotide is a prescription medicine that treats IBS-C in adults. It's not a laxative. It's a once-daily pill that helps you get ahead of your symptoms. It's proven to help you have more frequent and complete bowel movements and helps relieve overall abdominal symptoms, belly pain, discomfort, and bloating. These symptoms were studied in combination, not individually. Do not give Linzess to children less than 2. It may harm them. Do not take Linzess if you have a bowel blockage. Get immediate help if you develop unusual or severe stomach pain, especially with bloody or black stools. The most common side effect is diarrhea, sometimes severe. If it's severe, stop taking Linzess and call your doctor right away. Other side effects include gas, stomach area pain, and swelling. Talk to your doctor and say yes to Linzess. Learn more at linzess.com or call 1-800-LINZESS.
Sometimes he fails at fitting in, but we're okay with that. You're inside the Tavis Smiley Show.
You are indeed. Our guest is the Bishop William J. Barber II, President and Senior Lecturer of Repairers of the Breach and Moral Mondays. He is headed to L.A. for the kickoff, the national kickoff of what's called Operation Liberty. They have these Liberty vans that are going to be moving around and recording what these ICE raids are all about. As I mentioned a moment ago, when I saw the persons at my car wash that I've been going to for years being rounded up, it just pulled at my heartstrings. And so when these things hit you in your neck of the woods, you feel it a great deal more viscerally. Bishop, I mentioned it a moment ago. How did you read? I mean, these Supreme Court decisions have been all over the map, as you well know, and in many respects, the federal court, the lower courts at times seem to at least put a speed bump in the road where Donald Trump is trying to travel, and then the Supreme Court always seems to come to his rescue. I'm reading a piece right now that just broke that Donald Trump has now asked the U.S. Supreme Court to allow him to fire the Fed member Lisa Cook. You all saw the big news of the Fed yesterday, lowering those rates just a wee bit. But now he's asking the Supreme Court to allow him to fire Lisa Cook, going after black women like nobody's business. But we're going to the Supreme Court to ask for permission to fire this sister, the first black woman ever on the Fed. It's nonsensical. But this lower court suggested or ruled that these random ICE raids can continue here in LA. What's your read of the way that that these courts are allowing Donald Trump to just move in some unique and interesting ways?
Well, Tavis, one of the things I think we have to realize, particularly as we people fight to take power back, if you will, is we have to pay attention to the totality of the political system. Mm-hmm. I don't know if you remember when during COVID, and McConnell was the head of the Senate, and he was more interested in getting a Supreme Court justice on the court that he was keeping people out of caskets.
Mm-hmm.
He made sure just before Trump left that he got another person on the court. The persons that they are not putting people on the courts to be objective. They have think tanks they've worked with for years, these extreme right-wing think tanks, and they place these justices on the court to do their bidding. That's why Trump always feels as though even if he loses at the lower level, I can go to the Supreme Court. History is going to show that the Supreme Court in this era has done more damage to take us back what I call retrogression.
Mm-hmm.
We are engaged in a season of retrogression. It began with the retrogression around the Voting Rights Act in 2013. June 25th, no one should ever forget that day, was when the courts retrogressed. What had been said was the most important legal decision, of the 20th century, which was the Voting Rights Act. And since that time, the Supreme Court, which has always been looked to, the civil rights movement, we used to look to the Supreme Court as being the place that would try to do the right thing and to expand justice.
Mm-hmm.
Every amendment, for instance, Tavis, of the Constitution expanded
Exactly.
opportunities and right, except for prohibition.
Mm-hmm.
These folks are retrogressing at every turn retrogression. And it's sad because it's always 6-3. It's always 6-3. So I would say this, Tavis, any person that wins the presidency, particularly if they defeat the Trump types, is going to have to move, really look at the Supreme Court and appointments. And never again can we take our eyes off of these appointments to the Fed and Supreme Court, because we see now that the courts can undo the progress that's been done over years.
Yeah.
And can engage in this retrogression.
What is your read of? And I haven't had this conversation with anybody in a long time. As a matter of fact, you're the perfect person to talk to about it. Given that you were on Capitol Hill not long ago, and we saw you being arrested for praying in that rotunda. What to your point about these appointments? How do you process that on so many of these appointments? Let's just call it what it is. On so many of these appointments that we are now being demonized by. We're now being disenfranchised by, disaffected by. So many of these appointments, Democrats went along with these. Democrats went along with with many of these appointments that we're now again being punished by. Your thoughts about that in retrospect?
Well, first of all, I think that we have to make sure, Democrats have to make sure that even in the process of approving these appointments, they need to ask the hard and the right questions.
Mm-hmm.
You can't play at all with this. You have to push and push and push. Because what we see is these folk are very well prepared. Secondly, I believe that you don't have to go along it. See, they're operating many times in the old model. Well, we go along this time because we need somebody to go with us the next time. When the Senate was kind of a good old boys thing and people patted each other on the back. It's clear that that's not what's going on there. It is clear that there is an all-out attempt to reshape America, to undermine power and access to power, to take things back that we thought we had won and push forward. The clearest way I can say it, Tavis, is something my mother said. She's 91, 2 years old. And she looked at me the other day and just said, I never thought we'd be fighting this all over again.
Mm-hmm.
And it just hit me when she said that. She said, I never thought we'd be fighting this all over again. What we are watching, Tavis, and what Democrats and others have to understand is this is not some game. I don't know if people remember when one of the guys, I can't remember his name, took over the Speaker of the House, and he said their goal was to rule for 100 years. For 100 years.
Yeah.
That is, they're not playing a game. They're literally trying to reshape America. Bannon has a video out, and everybody ought to take a look at it, where he talks about how they said to Trump, do all of the executive orders you want to do, and we're going to focus on the things, the budget, the judicial system, public education, and tax code. In other words, they are looking to destabilize where America is in a very using authoritarian fascist type actions and take us not just backwards, but they're trying to cement backwards so that it can't be undone. And that is why these upcoming elections are so critical. And that is why, Tavis, there are times that you can't go along. You can't just vote. You have to raise a minority critique, even if you're in the minority. Say no, say no, say no. They're going to do it anyway.
Yeah.
Then you don't have to go along with it.
Yep. Well, that's the question. As we've been discussing on this program for days now, at the end of this month, Democrats have a decision to make when this government funding comes to a screeching halt. Will they do this time, under the leadership of Chuck Schumer, what they did last time, which is to give Republicans and give Donald Trump the votes he needed to keep the government afloat? If this is how government is going to show up, if this is how government is going to act and behave, is this what we want to be funding? We're talking to Cornel West at the top of the next hour, your friend and brother, my friend and brother. And Dr. West has called it a question of whether or not we want to fund fascism. That is the question. Are we going to continue to fund fascism? I'm not naive. Neither is Dr. West, neither is Bishop Barber, about what it means to shut government down. And people can have their points of view on it. But at some point, it just seems to me, this is Tavis speaking, that you have to draw a line in the sand, as Bishop just said, and say no. That's my sense of it. I put a pin in that for the moment. What we heard earlier this week, here we are at Thursday now, what we heard earlier this week following the murder, the death of Charlie Kirk, is that they were going to come after the left. They're coming after left organizations, progressive organizations. So J.D. Vance promised that alongside Stephen Miller when they sat in and hosted that podcast posthumously for Charlie Kirk. And then the next day, Pam Bondi, the Attorney General, although she's backed up a little bit, has said she's going after hate speech, although somebody didn't tell her as the Attorney General that hate speech is protected in this country. Go figure. But they're coming after the left. And here is how they intend to do this. And I want to just give you the backstory here so Bishop Barber then can respond to it. So you've heard me talk on this program in the last few weeks about the strategy they've used of going after people's mortgage loans to try to hem them up. You heard me mention just a moment ago that Trump is now appealing to the U.S. Supreme Court to give him the authority to fire the Fed board member, the sister, Lisa Cook. That's how bad he wants her out. He's asking the SCOTUS to give him the power to do so because she's fighting back and standing her ground. But what got us in this mess was them digging into her mortgage papers and trying to find an issue where she was less than honest about living in a particular home as her primary residence. But they did that by digging into her mortgage papers. That is the same argument they're making against Adam Schiff, the senator from California, the U.S. senator from California. Adam Schiff is now wrestling against that, having dug into his mortgage papers. So that's one of the strategies they've been using. So when they say they're now coming after the left, coming after progressive organizations, left-wing groups, as they call them, here's how they intend to do it. And this news is breaking today. They intended to dig into the tax-exempt status of these organizations. They're going to dig into the tax-exempt status of these organizations and see if they can find something that puts them in violation of their tax-exempt status. So they're digging into mortgage. They're digging into mortgage papers. Now they're digging into tax-exempt status papers. They're using every lever they have available to them. And because they are the administration, they have access to all the paperwork they could ever need to have access to. But this is the way they're waging this war, the way they're fighting this fight. And to that strategy, you say what, Bishop Barber?
Well, this lets us know how real it is.
Yeah.
And this means that two things: organizations have to work hard to keep everything they have in order. We can't back up, but you still can't back up on what you've been called to do. But again, this is the kind of tactics that fascist and authoritarian efforts do. It is all about trying to dismantle, shut down dissent, shut down anybody that has an alternative or actually will tell the truth. You know, when they said the other day, I heard the podcast that they were going after the left, going after this group, and they had just taken down a study on the Justice Department website that said that most of the domestic terrorism wasn't even coming from that direction. It was coming from the so-called extreme right.
That's right.
And, I struggle with using that whole left, right now, but anyway, just for that sake of conversation.
Sure.
And here we had a young man who was brutally killed in public. And as a human being, as a Christian, as a person of faith, we should mourn any kind of death where somebody takes somebody's life. Nobody has the authority to take somebody's life. And, when a father is no longer, a husband is no longer, children no longer have their father, wife no longer has their husband, shot brutally. And there's somebody who knows what it's like to have lived with people sending you messages saying that they want your demise. You have to mourn that. You can't be for that. You can in no way not cry about that and what it does to the whole society. But you also can mourn someone and have differences with them in their life, differences with their debate and what they said. In fact, Tavis, my good friend Jonathan Hotgrove and I, some years ago, we were invited to do a debate with Turning Point with Charlie Crisp, and it was going to be on the campus of Liberty University, and we took it up. Now, some things happened on their end, and it couldn't happen, but we actually believe that moral debate ought to be had in the public square, that we ought to have a serious and deep, what does it mean to be Christian in the public square? What does it mean to be a person of faith in the public square? That moral debate should be had. It's always been a part of us. So on the one hand, you can debate, but you should never be for death. But you can also call someone, say that someone is president, and still say you are operating beneath the presidency, beneath the role of the presidency. But my concern is even one step more, Tavis, is that in the midst of what happened to our brother Kirk, is that I've said to me, if you just started being concerned about political violence last week, that's problematic too.
Hold that thought, Bishop. Hold that thought. This is getting good. I want to pick up on that point about what it means to just now start to be concerned about political violence. I'll pick up on that note. And he said something a moment ago. I don't know if you heard it. It kind of eased out. He went right past it, but I heard it, and I want to give him a chance to unpack that as well. And that is this difficulty he has between this left-right dialectic, this right-left dynamic, that phraseology that we use in our conversation. I heard his critique of that. He just top-lined it, but I want to hear more about what that critique is all about. A great deal more to cover with Bishop William J. Barber II when we come forward on Tavis Smiley.
What's your quarrel with the world? You're listening to Tavis Smiley.
I'm Bree Wood with BIN News Now. Cook County leaders are blasting ICE raids in the Chicago area. Black Board President Tony Preckwingle says agents aren't identifying themselves.
The refusal to provide identification are not hallmarks of transparency or accountability. Instead, they raise the risk of abuse, intimidation, and impersonation.
A new resolution aims to push back after arrests in Elgin and Chicago this week. A new documentary, Opportunity, Access, and Uplift, The Evolving Legacy of HBCUs, explores life at HBCUs through students at Delaware State and Dillard. The documentary highlights the legacy and impact of these institutions on future leaders. You can stream it through American Public Television's website. And guitarist Joe Bonamassa is honoring B.B. King with a 32-track tribute album, Blue Summit 100, out February 6th. A mystery guest will cover The Thrill Is Gone. Get BIN News Now on demand 24/7 on the iHeartRadio app.
This season, San Diego's playing at home, and you are on the roster. Don't miss the Padres, Wave FC, San Diego FC, and the Blue Angels at the Miramar Air Show. Plan your trip now at sandiego.org/awesome all year. Funded in part with City of San Diego Tourism Marketing District Assessment Funds.
This is the KBLA Sports Minute with Ray Richardson.
The Dodgers got a strong pitching performance from Blake Snell to beat Philadelphia last night 5-0. Snell had a season-high 12 strikeouts in 7 innings. The Dodgers got home runs from Freddie Freeman and Shohei Ohtani, his 51st this season. The Dodgers maintained their 2-game lead over San Diego in the NL West with 10 games left in the regular season. The Chargers placed All-Pro linebacker Khalil Mack on injured reserve, which means he'll miss at least the next 4 games. Mack was diagnosed with a dislocated left elbow. He was injured in the first quarter of the Chargers' win at Las Vegas Sunday night. The 34-year-old Mack has started 52 of 53 games with the Chargers. By the way, the Chargers have the #1 defense in the NFL after 2 weeks, allowing only 15 points per game. The Chargers are at home Sunday against Denver. No debates, no speculation, just the info you need. That's your KBLA Sports Minute. I'm Ray Richardson. More news, opinions, and conversation when we come forward on KBLA Talk 1580.
We've got a lot to talk about.
Hi, I'm Zoe Williams, a.k.a. the Voice of Reason, encouraging you to join me weekdays from 7 to 9 p.m. for the world's most intriguing relationship radio roundtable. Every night, I facilitate and encourage our loyal listeners to participate in the most engaging relationship discussions you'll hear anywhere. So make it a point to rendezvous with me, Zoe Williams, the Voice of Reason, Monday through Friday, 7 to 9 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. Trust me, your relationships will never be the same. The VOR is on fire tonight.
Unapologetically progressive. KBLA Talk 1580. We've got your black. This is KBLA Talk 1580. Talk radio. That's music to your ears. We're unapologetically progressive. KBLA Talk 1580.
Want to extend that barbershop shave at home? Try Gillette Skin Guard, designed specifically for men who battle shaving irritation. With this irritation defense bar, 2 comfort blades, and a touch of aloe, it helps avoid shaving bumps and irritation, leaving me looking my best. I find it perfect for when I need a clean, fresh look, especially between barber visits. Tailored for black men, it's easy to use and offers the comfort my skin deserves. Stay confident between cuts with Gillette Skin Guard.
Your unstoppable future begins here. Mount St. Mary's University LA has a 100-year track record of elevating lives and careers. 2 campuses, undergraduate and graduate degrees. Discover how unstoppable you can be at msmu.edu.
Paid for by government.com. Did you know the United States Mint has issued a new Morgan silver dollar coin in proof condition for the first time? Not only that, they are also minted in 99.9% pure silver for the first time ever in history. Coin experts are calling this an amazing opportunity for anyone that knows the enduring popularity of Morgans. But you must hurry. Only 400,000 of these legal tender silver dollars were issued. These first ever Morgan silver dollars are brand new with stunning mirror-like finish, minted by the iconic San Francisco Mint. Call now and you're guaranteed a new first ever 99.9% pure silver proof Morgan dollar. To learn more, call 1-800-973-9717. If you order now, you will receive a free coin collector bonus pack, a $25 value, free with every order. Call 1-800-973-9717 now to secure your new Morgan silver dollars before they are gone. That's 1-800-973-9717.
And the top-rated African-American talk show host in the nation, according to Talkers Magazine. You're tapped in with Tavis Smiley right now.
You are indeed, just so you know, I'm not lying to you. I mentioned at the top of the hour that we would talk to Representative Monica McIver and get an update on these trumped-up charges against her. Mayor Baraka in Newark, Ras Baraka, was also charged outside of this ICE facility, ICE facility in Newark. They were there doing their jobs as oversight officers and making sure that people were not being harmed by these officers. They got into a little scuffle with Representative McIver, and lo and behold, the Trump administration has now filed charges against her. They also had filed charges against the mayor. They dropped those charges against Mayor Baraka, but she is still having to face those charges, and we had scheduled her to come on for a conversation about that. We'll do that later. I want to continue with Bishop Barber for the rest of this hour, and we'll get her back on the program in the coming days, hopefully next week. So stick around for that, but I want to continue right now with Bishop Barber if I can, given the conversation that we are having in this hour. So let me start with this. You were making a point a moment ago that I want to let you get back to. Before I do that, though, I heard you sort of slide by a critique. you slid in, I should say, a critique of this left-right dialectic. Tell me more.
Well, Tavis, I just think that it's too puny, it's too small, it's too limited. It creates division automatically. When we say I'm on the left, I'm on the right.
Mm-hmm.
I like progressive better. You know, we talk about moral fusion. Here's what I mean.
Right.
When we say that we are in a country that has a constitution, there's nowhere in that constitution that talks about people swearing to be on the left or on the right. It does say you swear to establish justice. You swear to provide for the common defense. You swear to promote the general welfare. You swear to ensure domestic tranquility. You swear to equal protection under the law. So that's where the debate ought to be held.
Mm-hmm.
That's where we ought to hope it. How does this policy do those 4 or 5 things? Not is it left or right? Because an attempt, what you're trying to do with left and right, it suggests that they have equal moral standing. And then for me, linguistically, I'm not going to call somebody right and then spend the next 45 minutes trying to prove they're wrong. That just doesn't make any sense to me mentally, linguistically. Right. And then the same thing with Christianity. Christianity is not, you don't find where in the Bible it says left Christian, right Christian, so forth. What you do find is Jesus saying to the nations, when I was hungry, did you feed me? When I was naked, did you clothe me? So let's have a debate there.
Yeah.
Does this policy feed the hungry? Does it, what does it do? Does it welcome the immigrant?
Right.
And then we debate there. But I'm not going to debate on things that are not even a part of the foundational guidelines of where we are and what we're talking about.
Yeah. Let me follow you for a second here. I'm going to get the point you were making before the break was about political violence. I'll circle you back to that, I promise, because I do want to give you a chance to finish that comment. And I want to hear more about your views on political violence and us just figuring this out, that is part of our DNA last week. So we'll come back to that, I promise. But you mentioned Christianity. I want to come to this. So last night I was up late and I was talking to a couple of friends of mine about this the other day. I wish, and this is no knock on my staff, I have a great staff right now, but I will tell you, as an independently owned Black media network, I don't have the staff that I had when I was at NPR. And NPR ain't got the staff they used to have at NPR these days, given that their budgets have been cut, NPR and PBS. But I was at NPR, I had a pretty massive staff. And I had this idea a few days ago, what I wanted to do. I just don't have the staff to do it. So I just did it on my own last night because I was curious to see what was out there. I've been at this long enough to know, Bishop Barber, and so have you, that last Sunday in pulpits all across this country, everybody was preaching and opining about Charlie Kirk.
Mm-hmm.
Put another way, everybody was talking about hate and evil.
Mm-hmm.
But I also obviously know that those sermons were saying one thing in certain churches and the ministers were saying something else in the other churches. And the idea I had that I wish I had the staff to pull off is to pull clips from these churches over here and these churches over here and just spend an hour letting the audience across the country hear the differences in these Christians. Put that in air quotes, it's radio. You can't see me, Doc. I got my fingers up here. These Christians all opining on Charlie Kirk. Here's my point. If you were visiting America right now from another planet and you were bouncing from church to church to church to church last Sunday, from California to the Carolinas, you'd have a conundrum trying to figure out what this Christianity thing, what this Christology thing is all about. I'll leave it there, pick it up and run with it, Doc.
Yeah. Well, I've been thinking about looking at this through the lens of what Dr. King did when the 4 girls were blown up in Birmingham.
Yep.
And we had Amar Monday virtually on Monday because it was the anniversary. Happened 17 days after the March on Washington. And Dr. King said something that I wish churches and the preachers were picking up on. He said, we have to look at not just who killed them, but what.
Mm-hmm.
Who killed them, but what?
That's right.
As I said, none of us as people of faith, and I watched Dr. West walk off the set because he says, I'm not going to just sit here and be blamed. He said, I actually talked to the brother. And we can call people brother that we disagree with. We can have deep sorrow in any society to see somebody shot and killed on public, in public or private. But the problem is if you limit your concern to that. But the larger question is what is killing? What gave the killer, for instance, this young man, the feeling that he thinks he could go out and kill somebody? And I wrote about how wrong that was, and it also did something more deadly. It takes away the debate we really need to have in the public square. I'm deeply concerned, Doc, about this dialectic that we have going on in America. Now, it's not new.
Mm-hmm.
It's as old as when Frederick Douglass talked about the difference between slave master religion and the religion and the Christianity of Jesus Christ. And Douglass always made that. He talked about slave master religion versus the Christianity of Jesus Christ. He never called slave religion Christian.
Mm-hmm.
He's very, the way he articulated that is very important. We've known it. We've seen it. It's been around. You know, there was a group that rose up during the days of Franklin Delano Roosevelt to basically say the New Deal was evil and wrong. And actually, it was somebody out in California, I don't have time to go through the history, that was paid millions of dollars by the corporate interest to go around the country and take pulpits. It's in a book called One Nation Under God by a Princeton scholar. Folks want to read it. But I am deeply concerned that and it's not just on that side. For instance, everybody was talking about that. But Tavis, 800 people are dying a day from poverty.
Mm-hmm.
That's not being dealt with in pulpits in this country. The Pew Foundation found out that less than 1% of the sermons even deal with what Jesus said was his first priority: good news to the poor. In any churches anywhere, you've got 51,000 people that are going to die from political policy violence because 16 million people are going to be taken off health care. You have the genocide that the UN is now noting going on in Gaza. You have death in Yemen and Sudan. I mean, but we can't. Political violence is all around us.
Mm-hmm.
And at some point, I preached this sermon at the National Cathedral. America must decide that death is no longer an option.
Mm.
We're too comfortable with too much death and too much killing that's coming from our political and policy violence in this nation. And at some point, the pulpits of this nation and the synagogues and the mosque and all, we're going to have to stand up and challenge this deadliness that we've become too comfortable with.
Yeah. Bishop Barber mentioned a moment ago Dr. King's eulogy for those 4 little girls in the 16th Street Baptist Church in Birmingham. They called it Bombingham, Alabama then. Earlier this week, we commemorated the 62nd anniversary of that bombing, 62 years, just a few days ago. And he's right about the fact that in that sermon, King talked about the who, but he pivoted to the what. He did it in that sermon, but he also did it in a sermon for a gentleman named James Reeb. I want to give you two. I want to give you 2 assignments. I'm talking to the audience now. I'll give you 2 assignments. When you can today, I want you to Google Dr. King's eulogy for the 4 little girls, and I want you to Google his eulogy for a guy named James Reeb, R-E-E-B. As a matter of fact, when we come forward, I'm going to read you 2 short paragraphs from King's eulogy for James Reeb that Bishop Barber puts his finger on quite nicely, quite eloquently. But I want you to hear how Dr. King pivots from the who killed them to the what that killed them. Stay tuned. I'll read it for you in just a second here.
Interrogating and unpacking. That's what we do around here. You're listening to Tavis Smiley.
With a KBLA Talk 1580 editorial, I'm Dr. Nicolai Corte. Let's preserve Black land stories before they're lost forever. I want to personally invite you to be a part of something historic. As journalist in residence for the Black Land Lost Narrative Archive Project, I've joined forces with powerhouse attorney and social justice champion George Fothery, the man who helped make history by delivering justice to the Bruce family in Manhattan Beach, securing the first known return of land unjustly taken from Black owners by a local government. That victory was monumental, but it was just the beginning. For generations, Black families have acquired land through grit, faith, and determination, only to lose it through violence, legal loopholes, forced sales, and systematic racism. What's been taken goes far beyond dirt and deeds. It's the erasure of wealth, identity, and legacy. That's why we've launched the Black Land Lost Narrative Archive Project, a national effort to collect, protect, and preserve the stories of Black land lost before they're buried, forgotten, or erased altogether. Because there's power in telling Black stories, there is resistance in remembering
remembering, and there's justice in being seen and heard. This is where you come in. We're inviting you to be a part of this historic Black narrative archive. If you or someone you know has experienced land loss, displacement, or forced property sales, your story deserves to be heard and remembered. Your story belongs in this archive. Your truth matters not just to your family, but to our collective future. Visit blacklandloss.org today. Fill out our simple intake form and add your voice to the National Archive of Remembrance, Resilience, and Reckoning. Let's make these stories live on, not in whispers, but on the record. With a KBLA Talk 1580 editorial, I'm Dr. Nicolai Corte, and as always, we welcome your feedback.
We asked seniors how to prevent Medicare scams.
My best advice, if you get a phone call, do not talk to the person. These people are well trained. Don't talk to them.
They don't know me. They're just trying to scam me.
Don't be fooled. Hang up.
Just hang up.
Never give out your Medicare number.
They're going to get your number and put in a false claim.
If I get a call from someone, I don't pick up the phone. And should I pick up the phone and they ask for information, then I hang up.
How do you detect Medicare fraud?
Just like I check my credit card statements, I check my Medicare statements monthly.
Scammers can get a hold of your number, order medical devices through your account, and you're not even going to know about it if you don't look at your statement.
Check your statement every month.
If you get your statement and you see something that you know you did not have done, you report it.
Call your senior Medicare Patrol.
To report Medicare fraud, call the Senior Medicare Patrol at 855-613-7080.
Freedom is an endless meeting. So let's get back to it with Tavis Smiley.
Tavis Smiley, Bishop William J. Barber II. Since he went there, I want to follow him right quick. It is one of the, I've said many times that if you think that Dr. King's greatest speech is I Have a Dream, I ain't mad at you, but that partly means you ain't read the rest of his stuff. And so I want you to read, just Google his sermon, his eulogy for James Reeb, R-E-E-B, James Reeb, a white Unitarian preacher who came to Selma at the invitation of Dr. King and was killed outside of a restaurant, a whites only restaurant. Here very quickly, 2 paragraphs from that eulogy that I want to let Bishop Barber opine on in a second here. This is King talking during the eulogy. Naturally, we are compelled to ask the question, who killed James Reeb? The answer is simple and rather limited when we think of the who. He was murdered by a few sick, demented, and misguided men who have the strange notion that you express dissent through murder. But there is another haunting, poignant, desperate question we are forced to ask this afternoon that I asked a few days ago as we funeralized James Jackson. It is the question, what killed James Reeb? What killed James Reeb? When we move from the who to the what, the blame is wide and the responsibility grows. James Reeb was murdered by the indifference of every minister of the gospel who has remained silent behind the safe security of stained glass windows. He was murdered by the irrelevancy of a church that will stand amid social evil and serve as a tail light rather than a headlight, an echo rather than a voice. He was murdered by the irresponsibility of every politician who has moved down the path of demagoguery, who has fed his constituents the stale bread of hatred and the spoiled meat of racism. He was murdered by the brutality of every sheriff and law enforcement agent who practices lawlessness in the name of the law. He was murdered by the timidity of a federal government that can spend millions of dollars a day to keep troops in South Vietnam, yet cannot protect the lives of its own citizens seeking constitutional right. And yes, he was even murdered by the cowardice of every Negro who tacitly accepts the evil system of segregation, who stands on the sidelines in the midst of a mighty struggle for justice. That's just 2 paragraphs. Bishop Barber, take it away.
But if you notice what Martin does in that moment, and that's why the difference between a prophetic voice and a political voice, he in that moment says, I need everybody to take an evaluation of where you are. Everybody. You notice he doesn't leave off ministers. He doesn't leave off politicians. He doesn't leave off sheriffs. He doesn't leave off the racists. He doesn't leave off even black people.
That's right.
If they have not been a part of pushing for justice and things forward, he says, and what happens is we create a society where death is possible, and death feels like it has a license to engage. Here we are in this moment in history. We have all of this vitriol coming, even from the presidency. We got to wrestle with it. Everybody, what's the responsibility of the presidency? What's the responsibility of politicians that continue to demagogue people in this moment? What's the responsibility if I'm a clergy person, but I'm not engaged in challenging political violence, policy violence in this moment? If I'm not speaking out against violence, what is this? What is this moment? What is it? Where are you? And that's the challenging question. That's the question that we have to get to, because when you have these folks, you started this talking about Vice President Vance and Stephen Miller, laying out what they want to do to the left. There was a study at the Justice Department, as I said, that actually gave the truth, and they pulled it down. So what is so ugly about what they are doing is they want to use the ugly death of somebody, a murderous death of somebody, to stoke more division, to create more hatred, that may possibly create more death. And that's exactly what King would say we ought to be saying in a moment like that. That's the problem.
Yeah.
Not the who, but the what that releases the who.
I want you to read that eulogy for James Reeb. Just Google it. You can find it anywhere, but read today. Just do yourself a favor. If you think that I Have a Dream is his best work, and it was awfully good, but I want you to read how he goes in this eulogy. And for that matter, read the one of the 4 little girls. Expand your viewpoint about King. He gave more than one speech in his life, and the speech had more than one line in it. I think you take my point. Our remaining moments of Bishop Barber when we come forward on Tavis Smiley.
For all the freedom-loving folk, this is Tavis Smiley.
I feel like freedom.
KBLA Talk 1580. We've got a lot to talk about.
KBLA Talk 1580 reminds you, when we fight, we win. The Youth Justice Coalition is challenging America's addiction to incarceration and discrimination. YJC works to dismantle policies leading to mass incarceration, law enforcement violence, and the school-to-prison pipeline. Their approach? Transformative justice, community intervention, free LA high school, legal defense, and system monitoring. YJC promotes safety without relying on prisons. Their goal? Prevent system contact and help people exit the system through direct action, advocacy, and education. Want to get involved or need help? Call 323-235-4243. That's 323-235-4243. Join YJC in creating change. When we fight, we win. KBLA Talk 1580, your voice for justice. This is a community call to action from KBLA Talk 1580.
Are you ready to be a part of the conversation that will help shape our nation's future? Get ready to join us for the Left Coast Forum, Saturday, October 25th at LA Trade Tech, where progressive voices will come together to tackle the issues that matter most to working families across Los Angeles and beyond. From economic justice to climate action, from healthcare to housing, we're bringing together the brightest minds and most passionate advocates for real solutions and real change. With workshops, 2 major keynote addresses, and a closing reception with great music and good food. It's the Left Coast Forum, where your voice matters and your ideas take action. Saturday, October 25th at LA Trade Tech. Brought to you by KBLA Talk 1580 and the LA Progressive. The future won't wait, and neither should you. Mark your calendar now to be there and be heard. Stay tuned to KBLA Talk 1580 for more details.
If you're like me, 60 and retired, making ends meet, especially here at the supermarket and drugstore, is tough. I'm so blessed to have found benefitscheckup.org. It's a free and confidential website from the National Council on Aging that connected me to $1,200 a year in programs that help pay for food, medicine, utilities, and more. Maybe it can help you. benefitscheckup.org.
You know where you want to go in life, and City National Bank can help. City National knows the dedication it takes to build your vision for the future into a reality, and our team is here for you. We have a wide range of options to help, from personal savings accounts to interest-bearing money market savings accounts and more, all designed to help you get where you want to go. City National, here for every stage of the journey. Learn more at cnb.com. City National Bank is a subsidiary of Royal Bank of Canada, member FDIC.
Less monologue, more dialogue. Tavis Smiley continues right now.
He does indeed for the next 2.5 minutes with Bishop William J. Barber II. I yield the 2.5 minutes to him to say a word again about where you can meet us tomorrow night if you're in Southern California, and how the work continues from here. Bishop Barber, the last 2 minutes belong to you, sir.
Thank you, sir. Yeah, you can go to www.breachrepairs.org and get information on where we'll be tomorrow night for this prayer service here in LA, also to the Save America Movement website as well. And then on Saturday at 10 o'clock, we'll be in MacArthur Park, where we will be there with impacted brothers and sisters, clergy, people of faith, people of conscience. We're going to be releasing what's called Liberty vans that will be run by a driver, a veteran, immigrant rights person, lawyer, and a professional film crew that will actually put light on what is really going on with ICE raids, so that the people can see. We need light. We don't need mass. We don't need mass people arresting people. We need light. We need justice. We need to recognize that the 14th Amendment, Tavis, says equal protection under the law for all persons, not citizens, for all persons.
That's right.
And we must enforce that. And if it's not being enforced, we need to put light on it. And we'll be doing that. Join us, if you will, at MacArthur Park.
The MacArthur Park that he references is the same place for those listening across the country right now. This is where you saw the video of Karen Bass, the mayor of LA, show up and confront those ICE agents some weeks back. He's going back to that same MacArthur Park. So I'm delighted they chose that. And we'll see you tomorrow night at McCarty Memorial Church if you're here in Southern California. Dr. Barber, say hello to our friend Dr. West, who's coming up right after you. Dr. West and Dr. Barber, you're connected.
Hello.
My dear brother, I love you. I respect you, brother. You doing a mighty work, my brother. You know that, man. I'm telling you.
That was the most prophetic walk-off I've ever seen. That's what that's called. We're gonna call that the prophetic walk-off. That's right.
I love that. The prophetic walk-off.
Prophetic walk-off. That's right. That's right. Take care now. God bless you.
Love you, Doc.
All right, love you, brother.
The prophetic walk-off that Bishop Barber is talking about was Dr. West walking off of the Piers Morgan Uncensored program the other night. If you didn't see it, just Google it. It's everywhere. I'm going to play some sound for you, what happened when he decided he had had enough of that nonsense. Dr. Cornel West, Smiley and West coming up top of the hour. Stay with us.
KBLA 1580 Santa Monica.
I'm Bree Wood with BIN News Now. Cook County leaders are blasting ICE raids in the Chicago area. Black Board President Tony Preckwingle says agents aren't identifying themselves.
The refusal to provide identification are not hallmarks